What's happening, everybody? Willie here at the Great Outdoors. Every time I turn around, a box sneaks into my house. I'm gonna have to start putting out traps. Sneaky boxes, all square and cubed. Mr. Gary Barber sent me another package here, and we are going to go through this box because I'm feeling a little girth in there, feeling a little weight. So either there is a shrunken head from some far off country and some witch doctor put that in there, or we got a fishing reel or 5 in here. So let's see what Gary has popped in here. You know, he needs to start sending them in top hats. You know, top hats like magic hat, you know, like pull a rabbit out of the hat kind of thing. I need to buy a top hat, I guess, and then we can start putting these reels inside the top hat and start pulling them out like David Blaine or something, and start seeing what, you know, different reels we can pull out of the hat. Maybe that's not a bad idea. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to open this thing up, and I'm just going to pull them out one at a time here, and you guys are going to get to see them for the first time just like me. Don't know if you guys have tried this yet. Fruit Splash Ginger Ale by Canada Dry. Cherry Ginger Ale. Pretty darn good. Enough of that nonsense. Let's get into this. We've got a spool. What's the spool go to? Let's go with this first, whatever this may be here. I don't know what it is. See, I think Gary, he takes it serious when I say whatever the next one may be. Because he's got me even wondering now whatever the next one may be, because I don't know. I know one thing though, if I don't find some darn places to fish with all these things, I need to find some places to fish with these darn things. We have a Johnson Skipper 125. That's right, a Johnson Skipper 125. Now, what little bit I can tell you about the Skipper is this. It's plastic. First time I've seen one. At least the first time I've seen one that wasn't in 11 pieces. Because I have actually come across these guys a couple of times. Flea markets and things like that, but they have been just destroyed. So I haven't messed with them because all the parts were nowhere near there. Definitely an all plastic setup there with Gary's signature white washer at the end of the line there. That works. And I very much believe that we're going to find one of those sawtooth jobbers inside of there. Now, I'm just guessing, but let's just to cover it up a little bit. Yep, sawtooth. So there's another sawtooth reel that we can actually add to the other sawtooth that we're going to take out this year. That's pretty cool. Okay. We have a 125 Skipper, an all plastic 125 Skipper. Definitely on the affordable list, I would say, for the time frame. I don't know the dates of the Skipper itself, but we're going to figure all that out. But I can tell you this, it's made in the US. I need a haircut. Anybody else think I need a haircut? My wife hates my hair being long like this. But, you know, it's how I always wore it before I met her. You know, these things would be a lot cooler if they'd put Twinkies in them. Got a red cap. This could be one that we talked about, that Gary and I talked about. Actually, Dan and I talked about. We have a 140 Laker A. A 140 Laker A. Ooh. Drag's not set. Of course, there's a reason for that. You don't put them in there with the drag on like that. I have to wonder, what is the difference between that Laker 140 that we saw? Remember the 140 that was like just incredible inside, to be honest with you, and the 140A? What could be? What could be? Okay, we got a sawtooth. So whatever the change is between the 140 and the 140A, which I'm going to tell you one change right now that I am visually seeing. Remember when I was talking about that thin button on the 140? Well, looky there, baby. Looky there. Wide button. And a lockout on the button. You know, for those times that you don't want to accidentally sneeze and hit the button and release the fish or something like that. But we got the wide button and a lockout. We'll have to go internally on this guy and figure out where the changes are internally, if there are any. I mean, it could just be they changed the button and put the lockout on there. I don't know if Canada Dry would call me and say, hey, you know what? We like the fact that you drink our cherry Canada Dry. We want to sponsor you. I'd take one from them. I would. Oh, another red cap. Wait a minute. If that was an A, I do think that what I was talking about earlier could be this one. The Laker 140B. That's right, the Laker 140B in my hands right at the moment. This B, the reel, that Dan said he likes better than the 140. Now, when I looked at the 140 and took it apart, I was rather impressed. I thought it was a pretty cool, good-looking reel. But Dan likes the 140B better, and this could be the reason that I am going to tear into this one first and just have a good look at what the combination of, you know, amenities Dan likes and doesn't like and why. And then we'll probably have to call Dan again and go, all right, Dan, explain. We'd have to get with Dan. Dan lives, like I said, in Minnesota, and he's getting ready to actually take a trip to Texas and fish with a really cool dude who also does reel rebuilds on YouTube. Young Martins, if you're familiar with Rick Stivers. He also does a lot of reel rebuilds and things like that, and does a little fishing here and there. And I've talked to him a couple times. He's actually answered a few questions for me on things that I've had trouble with, and Shakespeare's and pins. I don't think he's actually pin, maybe it was Shakespeare. And I think it might have been Abmatic that I had a question about. And he answered them for me. Anyway, good old Dan's getting ready to go down there and see him. This is really cool. This has the lockout. This also has the wide button, so they kept with that. But I think where we're going to find our difference is, could I get a drum roll? Yep, there we go. We have switched to the steel rotor with, that's right, look right there. You see that little dot? See that little dot? See that? No more sawtooth. We now have a pickup pin. So again, I have to wonder inside, internally, what are the changes? What are they? So what we're going to do is we're going to dig into this, since Dan said this was the one that he, you know, personally liked more than the 140. We're going to dig into this guy first, even though technically we should dig probably into the A first and then see the changes between there. But who wants to do that? I mean, we're just going to skip over this and we're going to use this A. Eventually, I'm going to take the A apart and we're going to look at that. But since the last time we talked about the Johnson Laker 140, I remember saying, Dan liked that 140A, B, C, D. Dan liked that 140B. We're going to see why. So let's get down to the table. Again, look at this. Look at this. I need a notebook. Oh, the Skipper 125. There's something to know. Oh, there's a Laker 2. A Laker 2 model 140C? How many Lakers did they make? I mean, it takes 5 in order to play basketball. All right, 140B. Show us what, hello, come in. And we'll go with the cap. This is a nice looking cap, back cap. Pops right off there real easy. Now this one, of course, it too has the lockout on the rear there, which the 140 doesn't have. Oh, very simple here. This is very, very, very century oriented. Just a straight shaft right through there. Okay, the Laker 140 had that plastic adjusting screw, which obviously you do not see now. There is no plastic adjusting screw. There's just tension on this almost L-shaped bracket that if you want to get more out of that, you have to unscrew right there. See the screw in the nylon drag button there? You'll take that screw out. You would have to bend on that slightly. On that lever, that little, I guess it's like a pressure lever, tension lever or whatever. So to get more out of it, you'd have to bend it, but you have to be very careful because if you bend it too far, you break it. And if you bend it way too far, you'd have way the amount of tension on that drag that you'd want. But anyway, let's, and we have what I would consider a fairly normal, what we are used to seeing. Let me get it back here where you can see it. Rotor right there, what you would find on pretty much any Century, along with the hairpin. And the drag's already loose, so the spool comes right off of there. Inside you have your drag brakes, your brake shoes, whatever you want to call that, because when you work your drag, it still works a lever that comes up through the plastic right there, pushing on that center, the center one there that moves so much. And that's where your drag really is on that center. I'm trying to get an angle, you can really see it there. Is on that center brake shoe there. Pull that out of there. Now we're going to talk about this gear right here, because if y'all recall, this gear, this is just like a Century, really, or a Citation. You have that gear, flat spot, that's what I kind of like to say, it's a built-in washer, and then you're open geared on this side. Now, what's funny about this, I think the flat spot would go to the bottom of the body, but I can't tell you how many of these I have opened up where the open part of the gear is at the bottom of the body. So what is this flat spot for? Why did they even do that? Maybe it was just part of the gear making process where you came out with a flat bottom or a flat top or whatever. But usually when I tear these apart and put them back, I will put that flat against the bottom, because to me it just seems like it would ride smoother. But I mean, I don't know. Tell me what y'all think, because I don't know. I just don't know. I'm going to look at one of the schematics here in a minute though and see how that comes out. Our anti-reverse is anti-reversing, and our reverse is on a lever there. You have 3 pronounced spots there to catch the drag lever with. And we are, I think, yeah, we have a bushing, I think, that runs through here. Crank arm. And now this gear should just go. I said, oh, wait a minute. You can't get that completely out unless you take all of this apart. Okay, well, there's something I don't like. That's just a plastic bushing. That doesn't even go all the way through there. Okay, in order to get the crank gear out, or the crank itself, the entire crank and all that, you have to take the drag apart. Okay, we have a little tiny flathead screw here. Then we'll just pull our plastic gear off of there, or a plastic drag button off of there. Then this just slides right out. And this one is L-shaped. Okay, just like with a Century, you have your 3 brake shoes and you have your brass clicker on the bottom. I'm not going to pull those apart. There's no reason for those to come apart. They're working and beautifully cleaned, not a problem in there at all. And of course there is your anti-reverse swing arm. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to clean this out. I have some wire tube cleaners where I can clean that out and try to make that move a little bit better. Take this to the sink and see if we can't make that move a little bit better. Very stiff, very, very stiff. I mean, you can see I can't even. So, but we're going to fix it. We're going to work on it, and we're going to make it free as the wind blows. As free as a 16-inch black and white television sitting on the side of the road. Okay, we are back. Well, I'm back. Maybe most of y'all left, I'm not sure, but I'm back. I took my tube cleaners, which I have some stainless steel and brass tube cleaners, just a wire tube cleaners, and I ran them through the inside of the body here where that crank arm, well, the crank gear and shaft was a little bit stiff for some reason. And what we're going to do now is grab my oil, which somehow made it way over to the other side of the table. We're going to drop a little oil in the tube here. And then we're going to put that crank gear back in there. Oh, there we go. That's what we wanted, some loose spin there. I've been talking with Gary, and one of his pet peeves is when people call these parts by the wrong name. I have to apologize because I don't know the names of these things, and a lot of the stuff that I learned through the years was really just learning from other people. So if I call something by the wrong name, I apologize, Gary. I know I'm famous for that. Now we'll put that screw back in here. Then we can put that back on here because that is obviously a little spacer. Put that back, then we're going to put our crank arm back on. Put our lock nut back on. There we go. And that moves like $1 million right there. Gear's got a little wear on them. This one's actually, it's been used. This gear's got just a littlest bit of wear. It got the little, where's my brush? That's moving nicely. Run that gear back up in there. Put that spool back on there. Give it a little bit of a twist. Hairpin, what are you doing? Mr. Hairpin, what are you doing? Because it's just not acting right. What do you do? There it goes. I did have some people ask me where I get my grease and stuff from. This grease comes from Harbor Freight. Super Lube. I've been using that for quite a long time. Multi-purpose synthetic grease. I get it from Walmart. I almost said Walmart. Get it from Harbor Freight. It's not cheap, I'm not gonna lie to you there. But you know, to have the good stuff, sometimes you gotta pay a little bit. And we're going to put our cap back on the back here, to the body cap, or whatever cap this is. Cap was in great shape, so I didn't even have to clean that. That was really clean. Again, as I've said, you do not by any means want to strip these threads, and this one's acting a little bit funny. Doing the thing. That's right, doing the thing. Now, we only had a little bit of an issue putting the cap on, but once I changed the caps from the 140A and the 140B, I kind of changed them. So anyway, once I changed the two caps, everything was great. And I did notice that the two caps are two different sizes. One's taller than the other. Now, I don't know if there's a difference. I'm gonna have to, you notice the stripe is in a different place. Other than the stripe being in two different places, I'm gonna have to look and see which one the stripe is supposed to be taller on and which one the stripe is supposed to be shorter on. But when I switched the two caps, they worked fine. Now I'm gonna tell you, I don't know, I'm not using these reels yet. I don't know which one I'm gonna like more. Am I gonna like the one with the regular pickup pin, or will I like that one with the adjustment screw and the sawtooth rotor? This one's really smooth. Anti-reverse is doing what it ought to do. So the Johnson Laker 140B from 1973 to 1976. Well, we just gonna have to be taking it out to the lake with the 140 and see, you know, let's just see if Dan's legit, and he's, you know, Dan knows his stuff. Dan is a very knowledgeable individual when it comes down to the Johnson fishing reels and the factory, the history. So if Dan says the B is better, it's probably gonna be. But we're gonna have to find out for ourselves. 140 and 140B are gonna have to go out to the lake. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. I know I did, because I enjoy taking these things apart and putting them back together. It's a very comforting, gratifying, good feeling, knowing that 140B is going to head back out to the water and catch a fish. That's a good feeling. I mean, 1973 to 1976, man. Think about that. 73 to 76. That's a long time ago. I'm not joking. I mean, in 1975, Jaws came out. Okay, think about that. Jaws, the movie Jaws. 77, Smokey and the Bandit. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I shouldn't have to say anything. Jaws, Smokey and the Bandit. I mean, come on, really?